and welcome to the main event here on And It's Live. I'm Martin Ramsey, your host as always. Little break in proceedings to play a game of great stress, technical skill, knowledge and luck. It is the draft system as myself and my two co-hosts try and find the best, the strongest, the most representative, unique 11 from a particular period in history. That being tonight, the 1992 to 1995 seasons of the Champions League. So the first 3 seasons of the Champions League. 3 separate teams, 33 different players. When a player is gone, he is gone. You cannot get him back. And okay, I'm joined as always by Adam Thornton. How are we, Adam?
Good, yeah. This is something we've done a few times this draft and various other shows. It's always frustrating and fun in equal measures, but yeah, hopefully I get who I need.
Well, that's always plenty to choose from, especially with just 3. Good evening, David. How are we?
I'm good, lads. Yes, nice to be on. Nice to a little bit of a more relaxed pace on this one, although it does tend to get quite stressful towards the end. My previous experience tells me.
Yeah, it's slightly easier than trying to do Rangers of the 2010s. We've got lots of brilliant players kicking about, but yes, we all have our favourites that we want to try and get in our team quickly. Adam, the listeners in the comments, I'm sure will make their own judgment on who has the best 11. Part of the draft's purpose, I guess, is to not only pick the best players and get them down on a list of 11, but find balance, find a team that would work and players in the correct position. Looking at the 3 winners, Marseille, Milan and Ajax, 3 very different systems, right? So Marseille have that 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it. Milan a more traditional 4-4-2, and then Ajax 3-4-3. That means brilliant players playing certainly defensively when you pick your defenders, if you're going to use from the winners. That makes it quite difficult because you might have to shoehorn someone into your team that doesn't quite work.
All part of the fun. I think fullbacks, assuming, well, it depends what formation you pick, but fullbacks will certainly be a struggle in this one for the reasons that you've mentioned, and it's well documented, I guess, the dearth of strikers as we move further through the years. We've got a bit to go yet. If you play a 4-4-2, you won't necessarily be struggling, but there might be better bang for your buck in terms of wingers, etc. So yeah, it's all part of the fun. It helps add a bit of I guess some constraints around what is fluid in terms of teams, styles, formations across the decades in the Champions League.
Okay. We had the draw before, the all-important draw. So what would happen is whoever goes first obviously has full selection of the board. Then second, whoever's third, in this case it's David, would have 2 shots, and then back to me, who drew second, back to Adam, who then have 2, and bang until we are all done. Adam, you have the full selection, but what is your formation going to be? Because when you've picked it, you have to stick to it, and you have to get these players in it.
Yeah, I'm going to go as it was, I guess, predominantly at the time, and I'm going to stick with 4-4-2.
Okay, and who is your first player?
My first pick is going to be Marcel 𝐷𝐸𝐵. Yeah, for me, just one of the stars of these opening few years. Was there at the latter stages of every tournament, and yeah, picked up the medals as well. He obviously played a couple of positions in there too, which again, it'd be nice if we could say let's pick him in every position that he picked, and someone else could have a go. But that's not quite how it works. So I am going to go. I'm going to go with him at centre mid, if that's okay. I just feel like, particularly in these early years, there's a fair amount of good centre halves in there. For me, well documented on the shows as well. The central midfield a little bit unloved until you start to get into maybe the later 90s. So I'm going to go with 𝐷𝐸𝐵 in there in central midfield to give me that bit of steel and physicality.
Okay, I mean that is I think probably the absolute number one pick that we'd all go for. Okay, Marcel Desailly right in the middle for you, Adam. Okay. I was absolutely wedded to 4-4-2, mainly because Milan were in three of these finals, right? Playing that way, and it's kind of consistent and good across the board. But the options start to limit. I'll stick with it. I will go 4-4-2 as well, and see what I can fit in around that. And I will go for Paolo Maldini at left back. Thank you very much. Played in the two losing finals, right? Did he miss? It was Baresi that missed the. So yeah, Paolo had to shift into centre back, of course, on that evening. So versatile, but the left back of the 1980s, 90s. I think it's probably fair to say. So Maldini for me. David, you have two options, but what is your formation? Need I ask?
Yeah, you don't need to ask, but 4-4-2, which I might have gone modern era. I'd go 4-3-3 because you'll have the forwards for that. Adam is correct here. Don't really have that. So yeah, I'll start off with a goalkeeper, and I'll have Edwin van der Sar.
Yeah, that was going to be my next pick, to be honest. But
it's not a glorious era for goalkeepers yet, but he was. I genuinely think by far and away the best. I know Schmeichel in these shores comes up a lot, but for me, Van der Sar was so good at everything. And I do laugh when people talk about, or pundits talk about, a goalkeeper that can play is a modern thing. No, it isn't. It just depends who you were watching. He was out the box, starting things, taking the ball from Danny Blind, playing it. Yeah, he was a part of it. So yeah, have him in there. And at number 10, which I believe should always be the second striker, hence the term number 9. And I will have him slightly deeper behind the striker. I'll stay at Ajax and go for his teammate Jari Litmanen.
Ouch.
Yeah, Adam's heart. If you could
he took Desailly.
You can find where it breaks. You can hear how it breaks, I think.
He took Marcel Desailly, who was mine. So I feel no guilt whatsoever. Jari Litmanen was, and somehow still manages to be underrated despite anyone you speak to. And you go, Jari Litmanen, oh, what a brilliant player. He lit these first 3 years up. He was genuinely brilliant, wonderful to watch. Would we say he's a glider, Adam?
I think we would, yeah. I think he would. He was Frank Lampard before Frank Lampard was a Frank Lampard.
Can pay him no bigger compliment then than Adam rates him as a glider. If someone fits into that category, then you know you've got a player on your hand. And he was very, very good. But also again, that modern thing of that was a highly tactical team. And he had very specific tasks given to him, and he could do them, but he was also still inspirational. So, yes, and I'm very much, I won't pair him up with his Ajax partner, I can promise that. I'm going to pair him up with someone who, at the time, I think would have been a mouth-watering suggestion, and there are plenty of options for that. But yeah, those are my first two steady picks, I hope.
Okay, Van der Sar and Jari Litmanen straight from Louis van Gaal's winners in 1995. My next choice won't be from a winner, from a club I'm not a huge fan of, but probably for these 3 years, certainly if you include internationals as well, thinking about the World Cup right in the middle of this, the forward in European football, without question, without debate, is Romario for me as my number 9.
Yeah, brilliant.
This is upsetting. I had quite a good team before I started this.
No, he had a bad one. He had a bad night. He had a bad night in Athens. He did. Well, they all did for reasons that we've gone into in a lot of detail. But he, over the course of that season and just in football in general, I don't know if there's a better striker. Certainly a penalty box striker than him in Europe at this time. So Romario for me, along with Maldini. Adam, a couple of picks maybe that were taken, but you have two at least. You two have the the luxury of getting doubles in when I don't. But on you go. Who's first?
Okay, so I guess again with the constraints that we've got, how football was at the time, yada yada yada. I am going to pick what I think was the best right back in this era. Like we said, there it is tricky when some are playing 3-5-2. You've also kind of got right backs that are not really my cup of tea, shall we say, in terms of basically just centre halves sticking out there. So, yeah, for those reasons, I think I'll go for 𝐵 Panucci. Obviously, I was going to say starts off. He doesn't start off at Milan. He starts off at Genoa, but this is where he wins the Champions League for the first time. Indeed, goes on and becomes the first foreign player to win the Champions League as well, which doesn't seem like any kind of accolade right now, but it probably was back then. Sorry, first player with a foreign club to win it, I should say. So yeah, I think I'll go for 𝐵 Panucci at right back.
Okay. And your next pick?
Next pick, I think for my next pick, I'm gonna go with it's tricky because there's a few Ajax players that I would think would be good to have in now, but again, it's like based on their career. Obviously, they were fantastic in this one season, effectively that we're talking about. When they won it in 94-95, but in terms of overall over the three, I'm trying to be as sort of fair as possible. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Danny Blind at centre half. It's maybe not one that we would automatically think of, but I just think in terms of shoring that up in there, I've got Panucci at the minute, and I've got Danny Blind, and I've got 𝐷esailly. That to me is a good mix, I think. And I've just realised I've forgotten someone very, very obvious, but that is the name of the game. So yeah, Danny Blind.
Yeah, I might not forget that on the way back round. Who knows? So Danny Blind and 𝐵 Panucci, half of your defences there, Adam. Marcel 𝐷esailly in the middle of midfield. Where now? I'll go 𝐵𝐸𝐺 in the middle of the park for me. Again, maybe slightly shoehorned from that diamond, but it's not as if he's out playing left wing, was it? So I'm sure he could do a tidy job for me in the middle of the park, especially that youthful energy that he had. So I'll go for Davidson there, along with Maldini and Romario. David?
I'm going to name my numbers 5 and 6. So centre back and centre midfielders. Number 5 would be Franco Baresi. I don't believe I need an explanation here, do I?
I don't think
that's
so.
That's the one I missed.
And number 6 is Didier Deschamps, who, of course, star of the Marseille team, but then moved to Juventus and did exactly the same job there, while inventing a role all of his own, which nowadays guys go for 120 million playing that position, mainly to Chelsea, but they still do go for that. So yeah, I think him screening my back four.
Yeah, that's a spine that you're building there, David, with Van der Sar, Baresi.
First thing you do, mate. Going into a new club, you know. But yeah. Deschamps, he was an easy player, especially in the superstar pack teams he played to kind of miss a little bit. But everybody knew how important he was, and look at look at where he played and how often and what he did. So yeah, Franco's the captain, by the way. Not that that matters, but yeah.
Sensible. Okay, with the 4-4-2, the width is, I think, debatable because some of the absolute screaming wide men, I mean, they're part of a three, Adam, right? Certainly some of the Ajax numbers that I'm thinking of, I'm not entirely sure work as nicely. I'm going for a right-sided midfielder who absolutely was a right-sided midfielder and fitted this formation perfectly, and that is Roberto Donadoni of Milan. Yeah. Because I just don't think putting Finini George in there, for example, is the same Finini George as you get in that front three, or even, dare I say, his counterpart, although his counterpart might be a hell of a lot more adaptable to moving a bit deeper. But yeah, Donadoni for me. Please, Adam, and now you have a double.
I'm just going to ignore everything you said there and pick up Marc Overmars for left wing. That's purely a selfish choice. You can play him a little bit higher if I want to, but I'm a huge fan of him. As we've said on here, I just thought he was fantastic. Both Ajax and Arsenal, he was one that I very much rated. So I am going to pick him up and have him on the left wing. Okay, I think I feel like I should start to flesh out the rest of it. I'm going to go for one of David's favourites and pick up 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭. Big fan. Again, obviously wins it with Marseille. It's hard not to feel like it. Well, it is tainted literally, but it's hard not to feel your opinions are tainted a little bit of it. But I'm going to be fair there and pick him up. He obviously goes on to do very well in Serie A as well. Just one of those guys I really liked. I think he worked really well in a front two specifically. So I think given my Overmars one is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but it doesn't quite fit the formation. I'll bring in someone who very much does.
He does, and very adaptable, Adam. I'm sure, regardless of what your instructions were, he would be able to execute those. Who else?
Overmars was the other one.
Yeah, of course it was. So yeah, Overmars, Desai in the middle, Blint, Panucci at the back, and Alan 𝐾𝐽𝐴. Okay, I need a centre back, and some good ones have already gone. I'm going to go for one who, again, didn't have the greatest night in the final, but was the joint top goal scorer in the 93-94 Champions League, alongside our great friend Winton Roofer. And that, of course, is Ronald Koeman. And yeah, again, probably don't need to mention too much. A bit of class in there. I'll find someone a wee bit more stable, I'm sure, to partner him, but a snapshot of this time. He's certainly your ball playing, explosive centre back with other strings to his bow, of course, namely scoring a lot of penalties, free kicks, and whatever else. But and also a bit of utter swagger and arrogance. The team needs that as well. So Koeman for me at centre back, please. David, you've got two.
Midfield partner for number 8, if you like, next to Didier, will be Demetrio Albertini. What a fabulous little footballer he was.
Yeah, he was.
And an absolute model of consistency. You remember the kind of old thing of a guy who gave you 7 out of 10 every week? Well, that was his minimum. But in big matches, clutch matches, he was dominant. So I'll go for him in there. And then number 9, striker. Now there is a veritable smorgasbord of options here. But I'm going to go with Hristo Stoichkov. Purely because I love him. And in 94, which is the middle of the period we're covering here, really, I don't think there were many to touch him. He was flying. helped a very average Bulgaria to the World Cup semi-finals, for example. So yeah, 𝐟𝐸zdo Stoichkov for me. Also, have you ever heard of even another player called 𝐟𝐸zdo?
No, it's very, very, very pleasing to say. So he's playing up front with Litmanen, Davey, right?
Yes, he is.
2 10s.
No, not necessarily. Stoichkov played a lot more.
Yeah, I would have had a little bit further.
Stoichkov did play a lot more further. You're just getting confused because Romario was there, but no, Stoichkov, that was your old-fashioned.
So it was Stoichkov, Romario in the middle, Stoichkov on the right, and what? 𝐵𝐵𝐽𝐻𝐻 on the left, Adam, for that Barcelona front three?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Okay, so Davey, Van der Sar, Baresi, my word, Albertini, Deschamps, and Litmanen and Stoichkov. That indeed is a manager coming in and building right through the middle. Okay, so I definitely need a genuine partner for Romario. I think I'll come back to that. Billy 𝐵𝐽, please, alongside Ronald Koeman would do me just fine, thank you. So that is balance, I think. No nightmares about Ronald on his wandering sojourns. You get someone there absolutely locking the door. So 𝐵𝐽 beside Koeman for me, Adam. And now you're doubler.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, again, a lot of choices that I had here not inexplicably went for Danny Blind. He was an excellent defender, but there's 2 or 3 that have come out that I probably might have picked before him. So I'm happy with the defense, but yeah, so I'm going to move into midfield now. I think, and I'm going to have a look at maybe what am I going to have a look at? It's a tricky one because it's just a tricky one. I think I'm just going to go for Guardiola. I think it just looks great on the screen. It's always a winner. I do need a little bit of a conductor in there, because if I get my way, it's going to be quite frantic further up. So I'm going to have Guardiola sitting at the base of the midfield as he did so well. And what else am I going to go for? I'm looking for I think I'm looking at maybe difficult because I think I'll go for Seedorf there. Again, sort of flies in the face of what I said earlier on, but very young. Can't say he wasn't fantastic in this spell. So obviously, again, one of those that goes on to incredible success. I think there's an argument that he was, certainly in the first 10 years of the Champions League, he was probably, in fact, he might even have been the most successful player. He was definitely the first to win it 3 times.
Different clubs, isn't it? Yeah.
If I'm sure at different clubs. So yeah, it's maybe one with an eye on the future as well. But I'll go with Seedorf in there.
Okay, great choice. And yeah, Mr. Champions League by the end of his career, wasn't he? Okay. I am torn between 2 central midfielders. I'm going to go. Going to go for Rijkaard. Played in one, probably. Yeah, on another night would have won that. Made such a difference to that youthful Ajax team, as we wax lyrical about. Very much the kind of conductor in there. So I'll have Rijkaard in with David's youth and energy in the middle, I think, if that is okay. I was torn, and this is very passé now, because Deschamps, he was excellent for Marseille, David, obviously, but he went on to an incredible career both as a player and a manager. It was really 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 that made that Marseille thing kind of tick in the middle. He didn't go into those grandiose heights, so I think he's Hibs or whatever. So we kind of forgotten about him a wee bit. But he was absolutely stunning for them in the middle. So I was tempted, but Rijkaard's impact. He obviously has won the European Cup before at Milan, but his impact on that Ajax team, with all their youthful verve, shouldn't be dismissed, underrated, downplayed. So yeah, Rijkaard in the middle for me, please, Adam. So my side at the minute, Maldini, Costa, Curta, Koeman. I still need a goalkeeper and a right back, and right backs are going to be a problem, I think. Rijkaard and Davids with Donadoni out on the right, so still need a left midfielder, which again is going to be a problem, and someone to partner Romario. David, you got a few options as well. What are your next two?
My next two are twins.
Of course.
So partnering Franco, because I do like a bit of right-left balance, is Frank de Boer, commanding centre-half. And on the right is his brother, Ronald de Boer, which does mean a little bit of extra work for the person who irons on the transfers to the back, because we'll need extra letters. But Frank de Boer, very, very solid defender, but an incredible passer of a ball. Ability to just put a ball 60 yards accurately to regularly as well. And good solid defender. And I do like a right-left balance at centre-back. And Ronald de Boer in this system, I think more than, I think moving forward, I would, if we were 10 years later, I'd look for a bit more width, but then I'd be playing a 4-3-3. So that kind of explains it. But absolutely terrific in this spell for Ajax. So cultured, so good with the ball at his feet. And I think he would just provide a little bit. And I'm quite excited by my right side, the link up, and I will be with my 11 as well with the front two. I think we could leave you little. Do you remember Man City when their absolute best, those little triangles they did around people that usually ended with Raheem Sterling getting a tap in? We'd score a lot of those.
So he's your right midfielder then, Davey, right? Number 7.
Right midfielder, yes.
Did he play up front on his own in the final, Adam? The one they won.
Yes.
Team, blah blah blah. But
Benidi
and Overmars were very much the left and right.
Yeah, I never liked him as a central striker, to be honest.
No.
And obviously the three of us got to see him close up, and we saw him sometimes used
as a 10.
That position as a 10 a little bit. When he first arrived, remember he would be playing up front, and I just did not care for that at all. Because he wasn't the quickest, and I think neither of them were particularly quick, but they had enough gifts to make up for it.
Okay. The De Boer twins, again, such a feature of this time in football. A partner for Romario. It's difficult. I think Litmanen would have been, if I'd playing a 2, I think Litmanen would be the best. Stoichkov, I think, needs to be in that 3 personally. But that's annoying that Litmanen went. Very annoying. Voller seems too similar to Romario as a player, maybe. Although he did all right with Klinsmann, I guess, for West Germany through this period of time.
Yes, it wasn't unknown at this time to have 2. So.
Just 2 goal scorers. Yeah, he's a very clever player as well. But I just think for his brilliance in Athens, I will go, and because I love him, and you need something from the Balkans really around this time. I'll go for Dejan Savicevic, please, as Romario's partner. Genuine 10, stunning that night. Not always stunning, consistently, I think it's probably fair to say. Like a lot of his countrymen who then ventured west throughout the 1990s, but when they picked their moments, they were just a joy, and I need a bit of that. So yeah, Savicevic, please, Adam. you've got 2 then, you're nearly done.
Yep, I am. So he's going behind Romario, yeah?
Yeah, just tucked in there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I will get a couple of problem positions sorted out then while I'm debating who I can fit in and can't and others. I'm going to go for 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐿 at Barcelona as my fullback. We've just documented it there. It is tricky with the different formations and just the. I want to say a fullback was a new position at this time, but with back threes moving to back fours more regularly, it was something that was maybe a little bit transitional, shall we say. And then more just to get it out of the way, I'm going to go with a pod favourite and go Sebastiano Rossi as my goalkeeper. Someone that we've spoken about a lot on here, very underrated, I think. Maybe not outside of, maybe not inside of Italy, I should say, or indeed inside Milan, but someone that it was good to find out more about and refresh your memory on. I guess because his longevity was fantastic. He was still kicking about Milan years after I expected that he had left, as we said on the shows, and I just thought he was a really good keeper. One of the first that really became that sort of modern keeper, if you like. Of course, it doesn't look particularly modern now, but at the time, 1992, modern. Yeah, so Sebastiano Rossi, and that completes my back 5.
Yeah, Rossi, Panucci, Blind,
𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐿, Blind, 𝐷𝐸𝐫.
𝐷𝐸𝐫, of course. Oh, yeah. So 𝐷𝐸𝐫's in the centre half. Okay. Okay, yeah, that is annoying with the goalie. It's weird his name just doesn't resonate all the years down, given some of the players. Some of the players were looking at the screen, maybe just because of our age, but he just wasn't a personality. I think he was just a genuine pro. He just did his job very well up the road, kept himself or whatever. Oh, that's annoying, Adam. So cheers for that. Sergio's a good shout. Very good shout. I'll go with Albert Ferrer. I think he was also fairly underrated in that Barcelona team. Again, quite a few out of position for Milan in some of these finals. Sotti could probably play if asked nicely, but no, I think Ferrer was solid enough at right back. Not Scott Nisbet was on my mind, but I'll go with Ferrer, I think, at right back. There's so many of those, like 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿, and but they don't play like that, so it's hard to kind of fit them into that back four. Was my big issue. So I need a goalkeeper and a left midfielder. After David nearly completes his with 2 goals.
Yeah, I'll take my fullbacks now. On the right, I'll have Michael 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿. Very consistent in this period. And on the left, I'll have 𝐸𝐵𝐿.
Nice shout.
Very, very good. If I hadn't taken 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿, he just got the nod ahead of 𝐿𝐵𝐿 𝐸𝐵𝐿.
𝐸𝐵𝐿, yeah.
He was brilliant the year they won it, and then would be brilliant again, but not in the period that we are discussing. Funnily enough, if we come to discuss the 3 years that contain 99 to 01 in them,
he's definitely
definitely back in. There's this gap of about 6 years.
I thought 𝐸𝐵𝐿 as well, but he played in the back three. He wasn't at right back. It was 𝐸𝐵𝐿 that played out there, and it's just
later on he went
he
back
did it Valencia, didn't he? I mean, he moved right into that, and we've talked again.
He was a good age by then.
Oh, I know, but still such a great player. Okay, so you and I still need to have a left midfielder to have a look at then, David. I'll ponder that. I need a goalkeeper. Obviously, you guys have gone. The very sensible option would be to go for the third winner, which is Fabien Barthez. Again, a career that went on to be far more dominant and composed and assured, and one of the best goalkeepers in the world, isn't he? He was a bit flappy at this in 92, 93. He wasn't yet the Fabien Barthez. So I will be pulled by emotional ties in the Champions League. 92, 93, I don't think there was, apart from Rossi, there weren't many better goalkeepers than 𝐵𝐺. So I'll go for 𝐵𝐺. I don't, as anyone who's listened to the early episodes of this show will know, goalkeeping is not in its best years, its best era, I think it would be fair to say. And I just, Barthez was nowhere near as, brilliant as the name suggests now. And again, it's about trying to get this era correct. So I'll go for 𝐵𝐺, especially his performance in the south of France, which was remarkable at times. So go for 𝐵𝐺 in there, and I just need a left midfielder. Adam, what do you need then?
So I just noticed I made a mistake. I've got 𝐷esailly in central midfield, don't I? That's where I picked him for.
Yes.
But I mistakenly put him at centre half in this image. So I will tidy that up then and pick centre half. I'll pick Basil Boli.
Okay.
Just that when they won, he was fantastic. Obviously, the first goal scorer to win the final. Obviously, as Rangers fans, not terrific memories of him, but I'll put Basil Boli in there as well, which gives me a little bit of a rejig around. So I believe I'm just looking for a number 10 or another forward now, I should say.
You are partner for boxing.
Yep. Okay. So there's obviously a few. All of the good ones are gone. In essence. So I think I might go for, again, maybe for similar reasons to what I've just discussed there. Not a big, huge name, but certainly someone who was very, very effective in Champions League final, and I'll go for Daniele Massaro. Obviously scores the goals 93, 94, comes up trumps where it matters. Again, it's maybe one of those because it was such a dominant display, but I do think getting those 2 goals against this Barcelona team, regardless of how that game was going, particularly the second one, I guess, right before halftime, which reinforces where Milan are in this game and where Barcelona are, I guess. So I will go for Daniele Massaro to round myself out.
Along with Sebastiano Rossi, 2 guys must be sitting at home going, why does no one talk about us?
Remember us? Remember us?
Remember, we were good, weren't we? Look at all our medals that we keep fit by just wearing them around the house. But you're done then, Adam, right? Rossi, Panucci, Sergi, Boli, Blint, 𝐷esailly, Seedorf, Pep, Overmars, 𝐵oxic, partnered by Daniele Massaro. Okay, again, the left, there are options, but not left midfielders, really, because of this 4-4-2 restriction that we've all appeared to have chosen. And I'm sure I'm missing better left-sided midfielders who maybe didn't get to the final, but were, good performers in the tournament overall. But again, as besotted as I was with this team at this time and players from this region, and given that, well, Paolo Maldini is behind anyway, I'll go for Boban, who could play out there. Good relationship, obviously, with 𝐸𝐵𝐺. And I'll go for a bit of a wild card out on the left. So 𝐵orum, back 4 of Ferrer, Maldini, 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐵, or Ferrer, 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐵, Costa Curta, and Maldini. Donadoni right midfield, Davids and Rijkaard in the middle. the brilliant Boban out there, and 𝐸𝐵𝐶 and the best striker in the world around this time, Romario. It's no bad for it's the formation that's caused me all sorts of bother. David, your left-sided midfielder.
My left-sided midfielder is for one campaign, really, but I want an out-and-out winger to balance up the rest of the team, and I'm going to go for 𝐸𝐵𝐶, who was sensational in 94-95 as PSG reached the semi-final, announced himself as an excellent young team that we all thought was going to go on and develop, and then promptly sold everybody, which rather ruined it somewhat. Obviously, he's better known. He was a captain of that side, incidentally, better known for his days in England, but he did have a sensational Champions League campaign this year, and I like the balance in, because you've got RDB over in the other wing who more tend to come inside, and you've got 𝐸𝐵𝐶 who I can get hugging the touchline. So also 𝐷eMeco was very good at coming inside, so boom boom.
Lovely. That's a great shout. I love that Ginola shout. Okay, who haven't we got then that maybe could have fitted in? Again, you've got a wild card. There's someone that you can make one change, bring in just one, and not obviously any of the players that are already there. But David, you were drawn last, so you can go first. Anyone else outside the 33 names in front of us who maybe featured? It's easy to forget, I suppose, with the way the final in '93 happened, how brilliant Van Basten was during that campaign, and all of that. I think Voller's probably maybe overlooked as well when we're playing with twos. But Abedi Pele as well. He looked like he was going to take over the world at that point. But yeah, the PSG and Monaco teams that were nearly in those 94-95 finals would be good places to go and mine.
Yeah, you've talked me out of 𝐻ристo Stoichkov as a striker. So I'm going to play my wild card, which I think is the first time, Martin, in all these shows I've ever done so.
Yeah, you're really stick to your guns type.
I'm usually a stubborn chat, but I do see your point. And while I do want us to be able to do those little interchanges of passes that I just mentioned, I also realise now that I've got 𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 in, I have someone who can cross for a more traditional number 9. Neither of which, although Litmanen was surprisingly good in the air, wasn't he?
No, very good.
Yeah. But I'm going to replace 𝐻ристo Stoichkov with George Weah, top scorer in the competition, 94-95.
Yeah, he bust onto that scene, went to Milan fairly quickly after it. Presidential future awaited him. Would I swap anyone out? Ginola is brilliant. Ginola is a wonderful shout. That I really wish I'd thought of. I don't think I will though. Nah, I think I'll stick with what I have. I'm just trying to think that Monaco team again. You get the last breath of Klinsmann, because he would go on and do cameos here, there, and everywhere. But he was superb that season as well.
This was how Champions League wise, though.
Yeah. It was a tournament that kind of left him, wasn't it? Where you just Inter were nowhere kind of really near the Champions Cup when he was there, and I'm fine with that. You know me, that back four will do me fine. The right blend in the middle of the park with Rijkaard's vision and brilliance, and Davy could run all day. As I said, Donadoni's probably the only right midfielder that at least got to the finals for sure.
𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐿, you could have had.
Who, sorry?
Angelo 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐿, Juve.
In these 3 finals?
No, not in the final, no.
No, at least he come in Juve won in these 3 years, but he just is a genuine. I know what you mean. Yeah, Italy kind of produced midfield fours effectively, didn't they?
Yes.
I would have loved Ginola for Boban, but I wouldn't swap my defence. Wouldn't swap my 2 at the top for any money. But yeah, I could play around some wonderful midfields because there are some wonderful midfielders about. Adam, final word.
I'd like to swap some of mine for some of yours if possible, but I don't think that's permitted. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with a couple of things in there. Yeah, in hindsight, maybe a 4-3-3 might work better. I've kind of got Seedorf out there, which is fair enough, I guess. It's not like he wouldn't be able to do it, but
no, I mean, but that's what most teams played. They played a winger and then a right or left-sided midfielder.
Yeah.
So it's more accurate, and I think we've all done a version of that because we're trying to be true to the ethos of the competition. And I mean, just looking at your squads and my own, I mean, I could be strong. I'm pretty happy with it, but I could be stronger at fullback, which was a tough. You said right at the start, didn't you, Adam? It wasn't a golden era for fullbacks, and I think that's true.
Not as we understand them.
No, not as well. Martin, I think, has got the strongest fullbacks. I like my centre back pairing. Adam, I like your midfield pairing of 𝐷𝐸 and Guardiola a lot.
Yeah.
I think
stealing silk.
Yeah. Daniela Massaro was a great shout, very underrated. Martin, I think Boban would do your turn in there.
Of course he would. I like the absolute width that because I go back to what we were talking about. Donadoni just does that job superbly, but you're really missing that.
There's maybe you could maybe do a wee bit of creativity, but you do have 𝐵𝐸𝐵𝐻 and Romario there, so it's not all is lost. And I'd say that you, as I say, you got the fullbacks, Adam got the midfield. I think with the addition of Weah, I'm pretty happy with my front line because I've now got pace in there that I didn't have. So yeah, I think they're all very good teams, but in an ideal world, Maldini goes quickly and 𝐵𝐸𝐵𝐻 goes quickly and 𝐷𝐸𝐸 was my first pick and Adam picked him straight out of the hat.
It's interesting. Your number one, yeah. For me, 𝐷𝐸𝐸 had to be my number one back-to-back winner.
It's interesting about that then that when we come to name our best player of the era, all three of us, the first name that jumped, he maybe wouldn't be one if we did a show of the best player in the competition. But when we were coming to pick, so I think
who do you want in your team? Yeah,
you can argue about best, but most important player of the first 3 years of the Champions League, I think we've all unintentionally shone a light on, and that's Marcel 𝐷𝐸𝐸.
Do you know? I think the only thing for me, I actually like my centre back pairing in terms of, I guess, how they complement each other. If that makes sense, you've got one who is the sort of dominant centre half, and then the more sort of cultured, if you like. It's obviously just maybe not on the level of the other 4 centre halves that are there. But I don't hear it in that sense. That would be the only part I think I sort of missed the trick. I can't remember how it did fall. I had Danny Blind as my, what was it, second choice. So it's maybe just that.
Yeah, that was a bold call when 𝐵𝐸𝐸 and 𝐵𝐸𝐿 Curta and the Boer were still kicking about.
That's my only letdown, I think. And then for about 15-20 minutes, I thought I had 𝐷𝐸𝐸 centre half, even though I didn't. Therefore, was searching for midfielders. So I've done what I can, but I do think I've at least got the best 5th and 6th centre halves in these years. So if you want to look at it like that, I've pulled out the bag. But yeah, I actually really like my front 6. I would have loved Litmanen and Romario would have been my absolute number 1, or number 1 and 2 choices if I was going for that. So I think I would say I would agree with David. Midfield, I think I'm doing well, but rest of it is on a par at the very most.
Well, let's do it. This might be fun. If we all vote on each line, each horizontal line, which one of the 3, and collect our ultimate team out of that. So I'll start off. Goalkeeper, I would stick with Van der Sar.
Sebastiano Rossi.
I think I'd go with Rossi. Yeah,
right.
I think
so
I would. Van der Sar was great, but I think I'd go with Rossi.
Yeah. Right, Rossi's a keeper. Right back, I'm going with Panucci here.
Panucci.
Panucci, yep.
Don't even think we'll bother with left back.
Nope.
Self-explanatory. Yep, self-explanatory. Defenders, Bolly, Frank de Boer, or Koeman. I'm sticking with Frank de Boer. Koeman, brilliant going
stick
forward.
with Koeman at that point in time. I would stick with Koeman.
I think I would go Koeman and then Baresi on the next line.
Baresi on the next line, yeah, that's fair. Midfield, right-sided. See, they're all brilliant. This is tough. This is a toss-up.
And a 4-4-2, it's Donadoni. I'm afraid.
Maybe Donadoni doing the job. Desai in the next one, lads. We agreed.
Yep.
I'd
Deschamps for me.
Deschamps in this one, Martin.
I think so. At this time.
I wouldn't be moved. I wouldn't at this moment in time. I wouldn't be moved by Rijkaard. But yeah, you've all three are beautiful options. But Deschamps would take that. Yeah.
Overmars for me in this line.
Yep. And then I've already said it.
You know what? Take it. But
I would have already said Litmanen and Stoichkov as the
Litmanen and Romario for me of the last.
Hey, Litmanen and Romario, sorry. Yeah, I've just read Stoichkov and said it, but Litmanen and Romario.
He's not even there now, Stoichkov. He's been removed. George Weah's taken his shot.
Maybe George Weah, yeah.
But Litmanen and imagine that as a front pairing. Litmanen and Romario at that exact 1994, Litmanen playing with Romario would have been a sexual fantasy. It would have been remarkable, and the way they would have complemented each other is staggering. But let's face it, there are 33 superb footballers on this list.
Yeah, and does it get easier or does it get harder as the tournament evolves and expands and everything else starts to develop? Because in those early days, I mean, how many players? David, I think, has picked 2 players who did not make a final, didn't win it. Well, certainly make a final. The 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐢 and Weah from that Paris Saint-Germain side of 95. It's basically been taken from those 3 finals. Wouldn't surprise me as it gets bigger, just because you get so much, a bigger wealth of talent to choose from, that they become a wee bit more varied and whatever else. But those are 3 fantastic teams. Let us know what you think on YouTube, on socials, wherever you follow us. Don't be shy. Tell us how bad or who have we missed. There's always someone when I come away from drafts, when I'm sitting in my bed at night. I definitely remember that I should have picked 𝐼𝐻𝐾 or something in that particular team. But there we are. Cheers, David.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Adam.
Thank you.
We'll be back with another 3-year draft at some point, maybe live in the future to go with our title. Until then, bye for now.